Hello again, folks. Well, as I've been preparing for this episode, I've been thinking a lot about the people I know who fish. and living in the land of 10,000 lakes, I know a lot of people that fish. And I can tell you, they are very protective of their secrets, the secret locations they have for where they find the big fish. And I've decided to take a different tack uh, when it comes to this episode and stamp collecting, though I see some parallels to fishing. And that's that I'm going to tell you all my secrets. I am going to share with you in this episode where I find my collectible stamps, where I've had success finding gems, and how I get good deals. And I'm going to do it because the overall goal of my uh, YouTube channel is to inspire folks to join this hobby because I just love it. And so there's no sense in me holding back my secrets when you might be able to uh, learn something from my mistakes and then also my successes. And what I thought I would do in order to tell that uh, part of the story is do another quick tour through my United States stamps. I will put a link in the description below to my full exploration of this album. Today's is going to be just kind of a quick flip through. And also, let me mention, if you are so inspired to share with us your secrets for where you find quality stamps, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below. So, overall, my goal with my United States stamp collection is I want to fill as many gaps in this album as I can, and I want to fill them with the finest stamps I can find. And how I'm doing that is I am mostly buying either albums or occasionally individual stamps. And then I will take the copies of the stamps that I find in those albums and compare them to the ones I have in here. And so when I find a second one of this one, I will compare it to the one I currently have in my collection and then the finest copy I put in here. And that's how over time I am building out an album that is full of fine stamps. When it comes to albums, which to be honest I love doing, I love buying collections of other people, and if I find individual stamps that I need for my collection, I will sometimes pull them out of those and put them in here. When it comes to albums, I have a few key ways I go about finding them. And the first is honestly through friends and family. When you start talking about being a stamp collector, it's amazing how many stamp collections will come to you. Because there are any number of different albums, such as these. I have one example right here, such as these, that are hanging out in people's closets and they don't know what to do with them and they want them to go to a good home. And so this one was given to me by a family friend. It had been in their closet for a very long time. It was their grandfather's, and they wanted it to go to a good home. And so I very gladly accepted it from them. And I told them that I was going to pull some stamps out of it, so they knew. And I went through the stamps in here, and I compared to the ones that I had in my current collection. For example, that one right there. And then I put it in here because it was a finer copy than the one I had. So, lesson one is the more you talk about being a stamp collector, the more likely it is that collections will find their way to you. And that certainly includes stamp clubs and other organizations like that. A lot of opportunities there to find some good quality stamps. The second way I go about finding albums is through eBay. I'm going to go ahead and drop a link in the description below to an eBay trick I use when it comes to finding albums. And I have found some incredible finds using that trick. And one includes this page. This page right here is my finest collection in all of my stamps. That is a particularly fine stamp that I will one day get certified. The bulk of this collection I found in one album. And how I bought it was it went up on eBay with a best offer, and I offered what I thought was fair. It was also the max budget I had available to me, and the seller accepted. And so I was able to get the bulk of my grills by buying one very nice collection and then transporting those from that collection into mine. And so eBay is my primary avenue for albums, and you can find some really good deals when you're looking for, or when you're searching for stamp albums, ultimately because people have a hard time pricing them. And so as long as you sort through or sift through an awful lot of albums that aren't going to be worth your time and you're very patient, you'll come across ones that have gems. The second or third, I guess, way that I go about finding albums is, and this I have to be careful as I mention it, is Goodwill.com. I did a video, I'm going to put a link in the description below too, about how to buy collectibles on Goodwill. And I say be careful because in the past year or so, prices on that website for stamps have absolutely gone through the roof. And it's to the point where I no longer pay attention to it because people are getting scammed. I mean, I'm just going to call it for what it is. People are buying these albums on spec thinking they're going to make a lot of money, and you just won't. That said, during the pandemic, I really got a kick out of buying lots on Goodwill.com. And this is one example of what I found. So I found a Scott Hingeless album, an older version that had 4 or 5 pictures on it. And I thought, well, the pictures weren't telling the story of the album, and I took a chance on it. And I spent over $100 on it. And within it, I found new Trans-Mississippi to 10. So these are very fine stamps, and I love them, and they're part of my collection now. Did it add up to what I spent on that album? Probably not. And it was the best thing I found in it. So Goodwill.com can be a source of albums specifically, but it's not cost effective. If you do use that site, I see it as entertainment because it is a thrill to get a box shipped to you that you don't know what's going to be inside it, and you sift through, and that is enjoyment itself, but it's not the most economical way to get stamps. The final piece I would say about albums is represented in this stamp right here. I can from time to time find albums in bookstores and antique stores and thrift stores. This stamp right here I found in an album in Half Price Books. It was one of the first videos I did on this channel. And I love this stamp so much because every time I see it, I think about that adventure. And so, yes, they are out there. They are rare. You know, antique stores tend not to stock stamps these days, but you can find them. And I love the thrill of antiquing. I think it's tremendously enjoyable. So again, as part of an enjoyable activity, I will look for albums at bookstores and thrift stores and antique stores too. So that's how I go about finding albums. Now, where I started this was my goal of filling all of the different gaps in this album with as high quality of stamps as I could find. And so now where I am on my stamp collecting journey is I am well aware that the odds of me finding that stamp or one of these in an album are incredibly, incredibly rare, to the point that I'm no longer hoping to find them in the wild, so to speak. And so I need to invest in these stamps, and they are very, very costly. Um, so when I am in the market for a high quality stamp to fill a gap in my album, I will give an example like this one. It's always tough to do this on camera because I don't want to. There we go. This to me is an absolutely beautiful stamp. It is socked on the nose. There are two different colors to the cancel. There's a bit of a red one on the bottom. I bought this stamp through a stamp shop and their monthly auction. When it comes to the finer stamps, I trust a stamp shop. I also want to be supporting their work. I think I love supporting small businesses in general. And I think that the stamp shops are doing great work. And so when I'm going to spend good money on an individual stamp, I am going to go through a dealer that I trust. And what I'm not going to do mostly is I'm not going to buy a nice stamp through eBay. I've been burned, as I think most folks have. And so when I'm, spending good quality money, a lot of money on really nice stamps, I'm going to give that money to somebody I trust. And I will put a link in the description below to the American Philatelic Society's roster of stamp shops. A lot of them will ship nationally and internationally too. So please feel free to take a look and support a small business, because I think it's really important. That is the high-end stamps. When it comes to mid-range stamps, here's a good example. The Kansas overprints, for example. Where are you? They're somewhere around here. When it comes to filling gaps in my collection for kind of a mid-range stamp, such as this one, for the longest time, I didn't have number 6. And so when it comes to paying a stamp or buying a stamp that's, $10 to $20 to $30, somewhere in there, I use hip stamp. The prices tend to be higher, and that's okay, because these are folks that, are selling off their collections or selling off their inventory, and they need to make a profit. I'm all for it. I love that with hip stamp, I'm able to choose the specific stamp I want. So you can type in, 6 Kansas overprint and see 30 or however many it is, and choose the finest one you want, or the one you want based on the price. And so for mid-range stamps, to fill a gap in my collection, I'll use hip stamp, and I have had very good success doing so. Then for the rest, I've mostly accumulated over the years, to be honest with you. I am trying to fill out the rest of this collection with mint never hinged. And so when I come across one that I have that is mint but not never hinged, and I get a never hinged issue, I'll just swap them out. And so I am no longer buying these stamps individually, but I'm trying to fill the condition issues I have when the stamp arises, or when the opportunity arises. And then there's one more thing I wanted to say. So I'll show you, actually. This reminds me. There was one moment, and it was this one. I won an auction on Goodwill.com that was just a cigar box. full of random stamps, and I think I got it for like 20 bucks or something like that. And in the bottom of it, I found this one, new. It was such a joy. Just in the bottom, hanging out. There it was. So again, as long as you view it as an enjoyable activity, I get a kick out of buying lots. It's just not the most economical way. So the last thing I wanted to say was a shout out to the American Philatelic Society. I will give you one guess as to which one of these packages was shipped to me from APS. Other than their addresses right there, I just noticed. Oops. I don't think they'll mind. The point being, these have similar stamps. And this was another instance where I am filling 2 large gaps in my collection through Hip Stamp. So I ordered these 2 stamps, and this one came shipped to me like this. And that's actually a nicer stamp. And I think I paid a little bit more. Isn't that a nice stamp? I'm going to take that out right now, actually. Oh, that's a gorgeous stamp. Again, the importance and the power of Hip Stamp is you get to search through all of their offerings and pick the specific one you want based on the price point you're interested in. It's got a little bit of a short corner there, but that's a very nice stamp. And it will find a home right here. If I can do this on camera. There we go. And then this one was APS. And if you did not know, APS now has a store on Hip Stamps. And for the same price, or even a little less than I paid for that $1 one, they sent me the stamp in this protected case with all of the paperwork and some information about APS, which is cool. And there you go. That's how they chose to ship it to me. So many thanks to APS. I loved the security the security I received with them sending this stamp so well packaged. And now I get to complete a page in my album, which is such a joy. If I can get it out of the plastic. There we go. And there you go. A very nice 75-cent parcel post. Great cancel. Nice perfs. That's a very beautiful stamp. And then it goes right in here. And voila, one of the joys of stamp collecting. Completing a page. Isn't that cool? I love it. I love it so much. And that is how I am building out my United States stamp collection. If you have other pieces of advice for collectors, please feel free to share them in the comment section below. And yeah, if you liked today's video, please do go ahead and like it. And until next time, take care.